is going on, everyone? Jax here behind the wheel of the Jaguar F Type R. And this is an exciting car, and this is gonna be a fun behind the wheel. All right, let's start with all of the tactile sensations of this thing, because this thing is a visual treat, obviously. I mean, just look at it. It's just visually stunning inside and out. But it's the tactile sort of interaction with the car that makes this thing so much fun to drive and so much fun to experience. But is it enough? That is the question that we have been asking. If you haven't seen the regular review, go check that out, because that is kind of the #1 question on my mind. It's sort of a matter of, are the sensations of this car enough to justify the $120,000 price tag?
What?
All right, so let's start with the thing that you interact with sort of the most when you're driving a car, the steering. I really like the steering in this car, actually. It is very quick off center. It is, I guess, a little on the light side, to be honest with you, but it's so reactive. It helps this car feel like it weighs a lot less than it does. This car weighs about 2 tons, and it's not all that big. I mean, it's smaller than my C5 Corvette by quite a bit, and it weighs almost 1,000 pounds more than the C5 Corvette. So the steering, it being as quick and reactive as it is, it helps this car kind of feel more nimble than it probably really is, although it's not nimble. And that's good, because this powertrain is a lot of fun. 575 supercharged V8 horses, and the noises that this thing makes are just so gleefully absurd. I saw a couple of reviews of earlier gens said that like they've actually kind of toned it down a little bit. I mean, I have nothing to compare it to because this is the first time I've tested the F-Type, but like, oh my God, it is so absurd and so much fun the way this thing almost like V8 cackles. It's just incredible. It's not all like Sound and Fury either. Like, this thing is rapid, okay? It's got 516 pound-feet of torque to go along with that 575 horsepower. So this thing will move. It hits 60 in like 3.6 seconds or something like that. It is commendably quick, especially from a dig. There's a lot of low-end torque, and it just feels fast, and that's so much fun. It's a very entertaining powertrain. And it doesn't hurt that it's running through a ZF 8-speed transmission, which is like kind of the de facto awesome performance transmission. So this is a very exciting car to drive, a very exciting car to be behind the wheel. Now, I just turned on to the handling road, and I think this first sort of bouncy section is gonna be a little tough on the F-Type, because this thing rides pretty stiff. If I had to guess, I would say, and I have it in regular mode right now, I'm gonna put on dynamic mode. That kind of firms up the dampers a bit, but it feels very stiffly sprung. It's on very narrow sidewall Pirelli P0s, so you're getting a lot of grip and aggression from these Pirelli tires, but man, not a lot of compliance, because this thing is definitely on the rougher side. It's not bad right now on the smooth part of the pavement, but you're not gonna get into this and think comfort, especially when you come up to the big bump up here, and I'm gonna hit it in dynamic mode, and oof, that like rear tire going over it, because you're sitting near that rear axle, and it gives you a little punch. It's not playing around. So this is a very exciting car. Brake pedal feel, though, is a little bit of an issue. The brakes have the bite and sort of intensity of the stopping power of the brakes is totally fine. I got no problems with that. But the feel is inconsistent, and that's at low speeds or higher speeds. Now, I haven't got to thrash this thing, A, because I had it this week and I was working and I was busy, and B, because it's a $120,000 luxury convertible and I don't want to bin it because, you know, Jaguar wouldn't be happy with that. But the brakes definitely are part of the weakest, or probably the weakest part of the sort of dynamic experience. Not because they don't work, just because they are inconsistent. And that's a little bit of a problem in a car that has this thing's performance capabilities. Now, I mentioned a second ago that I put this thing in dynamic mode, which takes it from being stiff to stiffer, like even stiffer. And you know, that's all right. This is a performance car. You expect it to perform. It has a torque vectoring electronic rear differential, and this one has all-wheel drive, which the F-Type has been equipped with for the past couple years. And I think it does a really good job putting the power down. It feels super quick off the line, like I said a second ago. And I wish I'd had an opportunity to drive this thing in like a more aggressive environment, but reports that I've read say that the handling has sort of been sorted out on this. If you didn't know, earlier examples of the F-Type were pretty skittish and tail happy, and this thing still feels really light for its 2 tons, and it feels skittish. It reminds me a lot, like I said in the main review, of the Toyota Supra. Now, what about inside? Well, the leather feels great. I mean, this thing feels that kind of like British opulence. I actually really like these seats. I didn't think I was gonna like them because they're pretty firmly padded, but the leather is glove-like and they just fit really, really well. Now, as far as how well I fit in this car, I am 6'6". If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you darn well know that by now because I say it in every freaking review. But at 6'6", how do I fit? Well, headroom's actually surprisingly good. Legroom, I literally have millimeters under the dash, and the seat is as far back down and sort of reclined as it will go. So if you are any taller than 6'5", 6'6", I'm actually about 6'5½", you will probably not fit very well in this car. My inseam, my legs aren't super long, but like, yeah, it's gonna be a tight squeeze if you're over 6'6". Now, the gauges here are a little bit of a pro and a con. The old school F-Types had these sort of like cool looking analog gauges. This F-Type has the digital dash, and it's got a large center tack with a digital speedo, which is fine. Again, kind of reminds me of the Supra in some ways. And then it has 2 screens on either side. I have the right one set to map and the left one set to media. I don't have a problem with them. They seem to work okay. My problem with the media one though is that the font is really, really tiny and the screen is like pretty big. So it seems kind of like a waste of space, but other than that, I think the digital dash is fine. Same with the infotainment screen. It is large enough. I don't see how you could really want much of a larger one in a car this big, but in direct sunlight, these screens are completely illegible, like completely. I had the top down earlier today. It's actually a very beautiful February day here in Atlanta. It's like 62. And I had the top down and you could not see anything, like at all. I could make out maybe the center tack, that was it. But I couldn't see the infotainment, it literally was blank. And I think that's a bit of a problem. I understand that this is a convertible and the top being down is, you know, expected, but maybe the direct sun on it is, you know, there's only so much they can do, but having it just wash out completely and not even being able to see where my finger is going seems to be a bit of an oversight. Also, in Supra comparison, the auto stop-start in this car is weirdly aggressive, like it is in the Supra, where like you even lightly push down on the brake when you come to a stop and it just cuts off immediately. It fires back up very quickly, but I found myself turning it off pretty often because it's annoying. And for a taller person, the pedal box down where my feet are is pretty tight. I have 14 size shoes and the gas pedal is slim and delicate, but the brake pedal is like a big fat surface. It seems like a waste of space. And the dead pedal is like half of my foot. So it doesn't bother me too much, but if you were gonna take this thing on longer trips, it could become a bit of an issue. It's not a deal breaker because if you're normal sized, you probably won't notice, but if you have larger feet, it is a little tight. Overall, guys, this is a gorgeous and thrilling car. Is it worth $120,000? Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. I don't know. That's a lot of money. Is it worth it versus a base 911 Carrera 4? Ugh, that's a good question. I haven't driven the current 911, so I couldn't tell you. But this doesn't feel as daily livable as that 911 probably is. But one thing this thing can do is sing. And oh man, it sings a song. Sings a song of its bassy baritone people, and it is glorious. Oh man, props to this road, by the way. Oh, this is my little like extra handling road. It's not really the handling road, it's just these sort of fast sweepers. I wish we had a few more burbles and pops though, just to be even more obnoxious. Speed limit says 35. We are definitely going 35 every time you stab it. It just, oh, these seats hold you in place, man. This is just such a good car to thrash around in. It just has so much thrilling characteristics. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little behind the wheel of the Jaguar F Type. To be honest with you, this is a very fun car, and I don't know what the answer to that question is. I mean, I've had things like the LC500 convertible, and that is a really great car with a great design, and it's probably more everyday livable than this thing. It's probably a lot bigger too. It's a way bigger car, but there is something about this sort of British roadster kind of thing, and this still has it. I think if you know what you're getting into, you'll find the dynamic handling characteristics, the powertrain, the performance of this thing very compelling. But definitely know what you're getting into. Guys, if you like this video, please consider liking, please consider subscribing, and as always, ride safe, drive safe, and I will see you in the next video, all right? Peace. So dynamically, these people gonna turn? There's no telling. There's no telling. Oh, no turn signal? Cool. Thanks for that no turn signal, you jerk. Something about this turn in particular, people just like, no turn signal necessary. I'll just leave you waiting.